Moving on to chapter 4, the title of which is Warming Up and Cooling Down, Pre- and Post-Bed Routines. Chapters dedicated to what you do before and after your bed. In the beginning section of this chapter, he talks about if you come home late, right before your ideal bedtime, let's say your ideal bedtime is 9:30 and you come home at 9:15, he says rather than trying to rush to get ready for bed and jump into bed with a stressed mind and everything, he says rather just wait for the next kind of entry point, which would be 11, so it'll be 90 minutes after 9:30. And then rather get four cycles of sleep as opposed to 5, and that's to include your pre-bed routine, which is essential for helping you get into the best state possible for that first cycle of sleep. So he's just saying in this first section, what you do before bed has a direct impact on your sleep quality, and what you do after you wake up has a direct effect on what happens and how you perform during the day, which affects how you sleep. So it's like this whole cycle, and that's why he's saying if you fail to prepare, you're going to prepare to fail, and that's why you need to dedicate time to your pre- and post-bedtime routines. So he gets right into it, and he starts speaking about your pre-sleep routines. This is basically the work that you're going to be doing in order to get into the ideal state for that first cycle of sleep that you're going to go through. He kind of lays out this idea that we are most vulnerable while we are sleeping. If we look at it anthropologically, back in the days before modern times, while we were sleeping, we were most vulnerable to, being attacked by other humans or attacked by another animal. Because we're not alert and awake, these kind of things can happen. So there's this evolutionary or this biological sense that while we're sleeping, we're very vulnerable. So I guess his point is you need to remove as many of these items that are making you feel any anxiety. So this could be things on your mind or things in your environment that you could sort out quite easily, just to make sure that you're feeling less anxious in the environment that you're going to be sleeping in. He does mention that you should try to stay hydrated up until a certain point, and then obviously you're going to urinate and clear your bladder so that you don't have to wake up during the night to do that. Stay hydrated, but don't drink excess fluids or eat too late or drink excess alcohol before a certain time, because that is going to affect the quality of your sleep. He recommends a technology shutdown, and so he says you should, he recommends that you should be shutting your tech devices, that's your laptop, your smartphones, your TV screens, up to 90 minutes before you sleep. So that's just going to give your body time to know that it's time to go to bed, and that no artificial blue light is going to be affecting your melatonin secretion. He does say that it's not only about the artificial light, but it's also about receiving messages and like the cognitive stimulant or the stimulus that you get from receiving messages and replying to messages and looking at email really does have a massive problem of keeping you awake when it's actually time to go to bed. Another part of your pre-bed routine could be using the strategy of temperature. So as we've mentioned before, on the island it's going to go from, as day becomes night, it's going to get cooler, so it's going to go from warm to cool. And so you can simulate this, because as your body temperature drops, it triggers these circadian rhythms to help release the right hormones for you to get to bed and get that restorative sleep. So he's saying a cool room is ideal. You don't want your air conditioning system to be too high. If I remember correctly, he recommends between 16 degrees Celsius and 18 degrees Celsius as a kind of ideal temperature range to be in. Another strategy is to have a warm shower right before bed and get into a cool bed. So if you keep your room nice and cold, you can kind of simulate that. He does recommend that you ventilate your bedroom during the day, so there's a lot of fresh air and it's not stale and stuffy inside that bedroom. He does say that electric blankets and hot water bottles are a big no-no, and you should avoid that at all costs. So in addition to the working with the temperature, you're also going to be working with light. So you want to be going from a light environment to a dark environment. And by your environment getting darker, your body is going to it's going to stimulate the melatonin release in your body, and that's going to help you get a good night's rest. Things that are going to interfere with this is your tech devices, as we've mentioned, but even harsh lighting. So very cool white light is going to have an effect on this. So he recommends using a soft warm light, either red or amber, and you want to start fading away into the soft light and then right into total darkness and this is really going to drive the circadian rhythms, which is going to be really good for your sleep. Well, I guess that's the bottom line. Another tip that he outlines here is he says everything needs to be in its place. So a nice thing to do, so you might be wondering, what do you do with your time if you're not using your tech devices 90 minutes before your bedtime? He recommends doing simple household tasks, keeping your environment clean, so doing the dishes, just packing stuff away, just making everything neat and clean. This kind of helps you feel less vulnerable in your environment, and it just has that meditative effect. By doing these mundane tasks isn't very cognitively draining, and so that's something that can help you prepare for bedtime. It also says just take care of the niggly things that will stay on your mind, like if you need to fill up or get certain things, make a list, write it down, take the trash out, those kind of things are going to go a long way to helping you just like calm your mind and ease your mind. And talking about the mind, the very next point he goes on about is downloading your day, and he's just saying that thought is a major disruptor to your sleep, and so you should use your pre-sleep routine to download your thoughts onto paper and just get them from your head onto paper. Just make lists, journal if you need to, because having a racing thoughts going through your mind is going to potentially ruin your night's sleep. So he mentions doing meditation, journaling, breathing exercises. These are all things that can go a long way into helping you download your day. Right. Another point that he's talking about with your pre-bed routine is exercise. He says doing some form of light exercise is okay. You can do yoga, stretching, that kind of thing. He does not recommend doing heavy exercise at all. The hormones that are released from doing that can potentially ruin your whole night's sleep, so try and avoid that. Sex is okay though, so that is good news. The last thing that he kind of makes a point about with your pre-sleep routine is sleeping through your nose. He says that apnea and snoring have a direct impact on the quality of your sleep, and so breathing through your mouth is not ideal at all. And so he recommends a few little hacks that you can use. There's these nose strips that you can put on your nose that will just help open up your nasal passage. And then he says and then he does outline a few stories of extreme cases of elite athletes that he's known who actually tape their mouth shut to prevent them from breathing through their mouth. All right, so the next major point within this chapter is your post-sleep routine, and so he just reiterates the fact that you want to have your anchor point, which is your constant wake time. When you do wake up, you want to be moving from the sleep state into a wake state, and it's a transition period. It just doesn't happen at the snap of a finger or click of a button. He's very aware that people need to get going with their day, and so he has this whole idea of returning to tech. Makes the reader aware that upon waking, you're not in the ideal mental state to be dealing with emails and messages, especially if they're really important. You really want to wait till you are a bit more sharp and cognitively aware of what you're doing. So just drink a lot of water, get hydrated, do your morning routine. Then at a certain time after your 90-minute post-sleep routine or whatever it is, then you can get going onto those things. But he says avoid reading messages, notifications in the first thing in the morning. It's got the potential of ruining your whole day. And so his recommendation is just leave phone and your devices from your morning routine. All right, he does make a note about breakfast. He says that all the athletes that he's worked with in his career, he has known them to have a good quality breakfast, and this helps them set up for the day. But the main point is what he's trying to say is just make sure that you get hydrated and fueled in your post-sleep routine, as this also helps drive your circadian rhythms. In terms of exercise, he says it's great for your post-bed routine. So that's even heavy exercise. You can get up and start doing that kind of thing. He says it's even better if you go outdoors and get some sunlight. That's going to help you wake up even better, as well as the benefit of a boost in serotonin level. In terms of mental stimulation in the morning, he says some gentle mental challenges can be included in your post-bed routine, your post-sleep routine. And so reading, housework, reading the news, all of those things can help the brain get going in the morning. In terms of your post-sleep routine, he does mention chronotypes here. He says that AMers, so the morning people types, will be a lot better in the morning as that fits in with their chronotype, and so the last cycle of sleep is a lot lighter, and so the post-sleep routine is not as important as it is for the PMers. So it's not that you don't have to do it, or he doesn't recommend not doing it. It's just it's not as important, so maybe it could be shorter or that kind of thing. And he says the night owls and the PMers will really need to think about how important that post-sleep routine is for them, and he recommends a 90-minute block for that. The last kind of point that he makes in this post-sleep routine is that maybe on the weekends when you want to lie in and do that kind of thing, he says, and he highly recommends that you stick to your constant wake time. So even if you wake up at 5 a.m. during the weekdays, says on Saturday, Sunday, if you have the days off from work or whatever it is you have to do, get up anyway, perform parts or your whole post-sleep routine, and then go back and lie in and have a well-deserved break. But he just recommends that just getting into the habit of doing that is going to go a long way in just keeping your circadian rhythms nice and constant. Alrighty, and the last part of the chapter, he makes this point of sleeping efficiently. And so he just kind of summarizes, saying that pre and post bedtime routines add efficiency to your sleep, and it improves the quality of your sleep. By having better quality sleep makes your days more productive, and this just leads to a better life in general. So that's it for chapter 4.